Hey guys, Magic Man here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a game in the Tier 7 Leningrad. It's the brand new premium Tier 7 destroyer for the Soviet destroyer line, and I gotta be honest with you, it is pretty darn good. Now they are asking $25, I think it is, for just the ship and a port slot to go with it, but in my opinion, it is totally worth it. This is a very good ship, and this is my first game in it, but it was really a good game. This is a great ship, to be honest with you. But the thing is, if you are a good shot and you enjoy gunboat play, this ship is going to be great for you. If you don't feel like you're a very good shot, you don't like maneuvering while you're shooting, if you're more towards the torpedo, like stealthy Japanese sort of destroyer gameplay, this ship really isn't a good ship for you. Now, some of the strong points about the Leningrad, it is the fastest destroyer at Tier 7. It goes 43 knots, which I think is the second fastest ship in the game, right behind the Khabarovsky at Tier 10. So this is a very fast ship. As you can see there, it will hold 36 knots in a full turn, which is pretty fast. But the torpedo range is also 8 kilometers, and your detection range is 7.3 kilometers. So you have about a 700 meter window there where you can fire your torpedoes without being spotted, which is great. And the fact that you can use an engine boost with this thing is even better, because you can actually boost the speed up to 46 knots. So as you can see there in chat, I was just trying to type something in real quick, but I basically compared it to the Kiev with long-range torpedoes. It is a great ship, but the one downside to the Leningrad is that the turret rotation is something on order of, I think, 30 seconds or something, but with the expert marksman you can get it down to 22 seconds, which is livable, but it's still very slow. So the turrets rotate very slowly, and as you can see, due to the gun placement, unfortunately, when you are shooting directly behind, you can only shoot the one gun, the second one there on the top, and when you're charging at somebody, you can only shoot your front two. So turret placement is kind of an issue on this ship. You basically have to be kind of broadside on to get all your turrets on target, which isn't a bad thing. And the other thing about this ship that's kind of bad is, because you're going so quickly, the turning radius on this ship is 690 meters, I think. That's it's pretty big. It's on par with some of the cruisers. So it's almost 700 meter turning radius. So that's pretty huge. But I think that's just because how fast this ship goes. You can really take a kind of tight turn if you slow it down a little bit. So, getting into the match here, this Gneisenau charged forward and really overextended himself. And I am in a division with Scrooge. He's in a Tier 7 Nagato. And that guy, I saw him shoot at me, so I turned in. And since this ship turns so quickly, as you can see there, the soft shots are, falling behind me or selling over me. And I'm going to fire some torpedoes in front of this guy, because I'm pretty sure he's going to go forwards, but if he doesn't, I fire some backwards. And I had previously started 2 fires on him. He put those out, and then I started another fire on him. So we're going to do quite a bit of damage to this guy. I don't think he's going to make it. And there you go, he shot at me again, missed again, and I've actually switched over to AP here. I felt like it was going to net me more more damage if I could actually hit the target where I wanted to, which is in the superstructure. But only do about 250 points of damage there. This shit and those two bounce. So unfortunately, AP was not a good choice there, but it looks like our torpedoes are going to hit, which is good. And like I said before, they are 8-kilometer torpedoes, so they do have pretty good range on them. They are usable, whereas the other Russian destroyers, you know, you either have 5 or 4-kilometer torpedoes, which are not actually usable. And I'm actually going to run aground here on purpose. I know that doesn't happen very often, but I'm kind of aiming for the tip of this island because I wanted to stop and deploy smoke very quickly. And that's something you can do in a game if you think you can handle it and there's not too much damage, but you know, you can stop your ship immediately instead of having to slow down and then deploy and be spotted that whole time that you're moving really slowly. So it's kind of my new way that I like to deploy smoke, and I'm basically just going to sit in this smoke and shoot at these battleships for a while because I don't see any reason not to. And I'm just kind of leading this guy just a tad bit too much. I really want to be hitting a superstructure. That's where the sweet spot is in these battleships. And there we go. That's actually somebody else's fire, but still netted me about 2,000 damage. And that cruiser unfortunately dies, so these battleships become unspotted now. And the Soviet destroyer line smoke, they last somewhere in the order of like 77 seconds to 80 seconds. And so I really wanted to get out of this smoke screen, or at least position myself where I could, because I knew it was going to be ending. And so both of those battleships, they slowed down to try and avoid the torpedoes, and they end up, I think, colliding. And the sad part about this is that that Fuso right there actually got stuck on that island. So I'm actually going to fire torps over in that direction because I want to hit these guys. And that's when I fire them. One set. And as you saw, I fired those torpedoes when I was 8 kilometers away from that Fuso. So right at the very end of my range. So who knows if they'll actually hit. They could run out of range right at the end there. But those two battleships are taking a beating. He's on fire in 2 places. They're probably not going to last very long. And I'm hollering at Scrooge to shoot at this Gneiss now, and there's his shells coming in right now. And he almost kills him, but does enough damage that the fires end up taking him out. And I'm just being an idiot here, and I keep hitting this island because I'm trying to watch my torpedoes come in on this Fuso. And they're looking pretty good. I'm hoping they don't run out of range. And one of them hits, and the other 2 run out of range right there, just feet from the side of a ship. So unfortunately for me, it didn't cause a flood either, but we do get a fire going on the Fuso, so we're gonna get some damage rolling on him. I'm trying not to hit this island again because I don't want to get stuck. And unfortunately, I actually kind of hit the side of it. And right here, you can actually see, you know, I'm looking directly behind me, and I can only unfortunately fire one of my guns. But if you get enough angle, you can eventually get that second one in there. But due to the deck clutter on this ship, there's just so much stuff in the way. You know, typically you can only fire 2 of your guns at a time if you're charging or running away from somebody. So you really have to be kind of sideways, or broadside onto someone to fire all your guns, which is unfortunate. But thanks to the speed, you know, you can make small course corrections either towards the enemy or away from them to kind of make sure that their shells land shorter over the top of you. Because you move so quickly, those little small course corrections are going to be fairly large. And I thought about turning around to deal with this frigate, but the shores was right there, and I felt like he could handle it. So there you see there, the frigate goes down, and somebody was actually asking me to come over there and go help with that destroyer, but he was a day late and $1 short there. And that's when I spot this York. So since he's broadside on me at 8 kilometers, with 130 millimeter guns, I felt like I could actually do some pretty good AP damage to him. And oh, we actually get a citadel, do about 3,900 points of damage, and that shot should do it. Yep, get shelling his superstructure, and down he goes. So at this point, the ship count is very much in my team's favor. We have sort of systematically destroyed the enemy team one ship at a time, and with the great speed of this destroyer, I'm actually going to be able to get over to the enemy cap very quickly and deal with those enemy ships that are retreating. So I did notice that there was a destroyer that had last been spotted at G5, and I figured he would be over around the corner of this peninsula somewhere. I didn't know where, but I was ready for that fact. You know, I'm kind of looking that direction, and that's when that Miyoko comes into spotting range, and he's going to be dangerous for me if I don't take him out. So I'm going to take this opportunity to hit him with some, pop him with some shells, and do some damage. And that's when I see that that destroyer popped up just to the south of me, and I'm not too particularly worried about it. And this is where the poor turret rotation of this ship comes into play. As you can see there, it took forever for my guns to get on target, and that's just because I was in a half turn. I was turning away from him because I figured he probably might have launched torpedoes, who knows. And the rate of fire on these guns is pretty good. It's like any other tier 7 merchant destroyer. It's like 4.5 seconds reload. And that Miyoko actually hit the back of my ship, surprisingly. And do about 1,900 points of damage there. I'm going to shoot some AP at him, see if I can get the kill. And do about 1,200 there. And this should be the kill right here. Yep. Get some penetrating shots and he goes down. So not a big deal. On our third kill now, unsurprisingly. And I haven't really used my torpedoes too much in this game, even though they're 8 kilometer, but even with those long range torps, I still try not to get too close to the enemy. You know, this is a gunboat first, and so I try and stay about 11 to 10 kilometers away from people and kind of shell them to death. So this North Carolina is actually going to turn this whole ship to engage me, which is kind of a dumb thing to do. Advice to battleship players, as much as I hate to say this, because typically, you know, when battleship players typically don't shoot at destroyers, you know, I'm kind of like, why not? You know, they're very dangerous for you. But in this case, the Leningrad is a very small ship. I played some more games after this one. This was my first game in this ship. But, you know, with this being a new ship, there were a lot of people in it. And going up against this ship at 10 or 11 kilometers, you know, trying to shoot at this thing, I could really only realistically land like maybe 1 or 2 shells on the ship at a time. I wasn't getting those huge shots just because the ship is so small. It has a very, you know, it's very low profile, and you know, it's very quick. It's very easy to maneuver it, and so it's just, the ship is very hard to hit at range. And so most of the time, you know, if you're in a battleship with a 25 or 30 second gun cooldown, unless the Leningrad is very close to you, you probably shouldn't waste a shot. And I think this guy finally figured out, he's like, man, there's no way I'm going to hit this guy, he's maneuvering too much. So I actually run into the map border there. I had kind of already started a turn, but the turning circle on this thing is so big, I ran into it anyway. So I pop a smoke, seeing as how I was going to lose engine power and be slowing down. So if he keeps selling at me, I'm definitely going to launch torpedoes. And I'm just trying to get another fire set on him. Did quite a bit of damage to him already. And so far I've rolled about 86,000 damage up, and we do get another fire on him. So we're going to get some ticking damage from that, and our friendlies are helping him out. He is the last ship, so we basically won this game. But overall, Leningrad is a great ship. It does have its weaknesses: turret rotation, turning circle. But other than that, it is a great gunboat. It's a great addition as far as premium ship goes. I think it's going to be a very strong ship. And, you know, I love the guns. I love gunboat play. But this is going to be the game here pretty soon. I'm trying to actually do some AP damage on this guy's superstructure, but I'm getting the penetrations. I'm just not getting any damage, so I guess his superstructure must have been saturated. So moving on to the results screen here. As you see, we did 92,000 damage. We actually got a citadel on a cruiser, sunk 3 ships, got a couple of fires, hit a couple of torpedoes, and got about 3,000 experience. We actually came second on the team, surprisingly. I was thinking there's no way that I was going to be anywhere but the top, but apparently that Shores did more useful things than I did. So kudos to him. Did quite a bit of our damage on the battleships. We did a little bit to some cruisers, but not too much. And most of our damage actually came from our torpedoes, our main battery, and some fires. You know, it was about 30. And actually ended up making 235,000 credits. So this is a pretty good game overall. Okay, so on to the part that I'm sure many of you are wondering about. And that's the actual stats of the ship. So here we are in the port screen. And there you see survivability. Hit points 15,200. The main battery, they are 130 millimeter guns. There are 5 of them, and it is a 4.5 second reload time with basic firing training. It's 5 seconds stock, and the 180 degree turning time, I believe, is 25 or 26 seconds stock, but with expert marksman you can get it down to 20 second 180 degree turret rotation time. And then the max HE shell damage is 1600, which isn't all that great. I think that okay, so it's about 200 points or less than the American HE damage at that similar tier, but it's still very comparable. And stock battery firing range, you're going to be looking at 11.6, and the real gem I think on this ship is the torpedoes, because you don't really have an option to use them on any of the other Russian destroyers till I think maybe tier 8 or 9 when you finally get some range. So you're looking at 2 launchers of 4 each, and they do have a range of 8 kilometers, and they do 15,100 damage. So they do quite a bit of damage, and they do sail through the water at 60 knots, so they're pretty fast too. AA defense, nothing special here. It's a 19, which is pretty sad, because the Benson, well, it has 21, so it doesn't have that much more. So I guess it is fairly comparable to the other destroyers at tier 7. And then maneuverability is really where this thing shines. It has a 3.7 second rudder shift time, which is great. Unfortunately, it goes so fast, the turning circle is 690 meters, which is bigger than some battleships. And you're looking at a max speed of 43 knots, which is ridiculous. And then as far as concealment goes, very good for a tier 7 destroyer. The only tier 7 I think that has better concealment than you is the Hatsuharu, and that's a Japanese destroyer, so no real threat there. And if you get concealment expert on the ship, you can get it down to I think 6.6 kilometers, which is fantastic. You know, that's very competitive with say a Benson. You know, my Benson at tier 8, 6.4, but my captain doesn't have the concealment expert perk yet, but he will very soon. But anyway, those are just some of the stats of these ships. As far as the modules that I'm using, I am using main armaments modification 1, the aiming system modification, then I'm using the propulsion modification, and then the second propulsion modification for the increased acceleration. And then As far as my consumable go, you're looking at the premium damage control. I do use a premium smoke. You probably don't need it because I don't really use too many. I usually don't use all the charges of that. It is a very situational thing. But as far as my captain skills go, I'm using basic firing training. You do need to pick up expert marksman for sure to help with the rotation of the turrets because they are very slowly rotating. I definitely suggest picking up the last stand because you are going to be getting shot at a lot. And I typically go with superintendent just for the extra engine boost and smoke consumable. And then as far as the tier 4 skill goes, I will be picking up advanced firing training. I feel like the extra range on the ship is going to make it even harder to hit, and it is a very hard ship to hit. It is small, it's very low in the water, and it can be very frustrating trying to shoot at this thing at 11 kilometers. And you know, if you get advanced firing training, you're looking at you know, probably about 13-kilometer range, which is just incredible. And then if I ever get enough captain points to pick up a 5th skill, I'll probably go in for concealment expert. But who knows? I could get something else. I'm not quite sure at this point. But just to give you an idea of how small this ship is, you know, this is the Leningrad. Very low in the water, and although it is kind of a long ship, but there's not a whole lot to hit there as compared to, say, a Mahan, which sits a little bit higher in the water, but especially the front of the ship, there's just so much area up here to hit, but it is a little bit shorter. So I do like the Leningrad. It's a great ship. I've played 4 games in it so far. I haven't lost a single one of them. I've done great in every single one of them. Overall, it's just it's a great ship in my opinion. You should definitely get it if you like destroyer play. But that's really all I got to say about this thing. Anyways, if you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.